Second365.com.
He now runs a Chevy dealership in Oklahoma. He used to try to, and did quite a bit in that back-to-back years against Brigham Young, played linebacker at Baylor. Ervin Randle joins us now on Second365 Radio. Happy birthday a day late. How you doing, Ervin?
I'm doing good. Thank y'all for having me on.
Well, we're glad to have you on. I started digging through the box score of 1983, 40-36 Baylor, beating Steve Young and Brigham Young and LaVell Edwards. And notice you had 8 tackles, 2 sacks. Young was sacked 3 times. What was that like leading up to the game, and was he even better than you thought?
He's way better than I thought. And, looking back on it nowadays, he was like a running back. And he made it very difficult because most quarterbacks are right-handed. He was left-handed, so he could run left and then throw it. And it was very difficult.
Ervin, when guys like Steve Young always seemed to me like he was just hard to hit square because of the way he could run. Not only the way he could run, but the way he could kind of move away from you. So you never really got to make him pay for running the football.
No, and I think the thing you had to do is tackle him. You couldn't try to, put a hit on him or put a head on him. You had to put your arms on him and wrap him up. And he was very shifty. And, he, like I said, he had good feet, and he could really move. And it was very tough to just kind of get a bead on him.
Coach Taft told me, and we'll have part of the conversation with him tomorrow, that he said after the game, it was such an amazing game, and everybody had left everything on the field. As he was walking across the field to shake hands with a friend of his, LaVell Edwards, he saw this blur of this player kind of running at him, and he was kind of like ready to brace himself. And it was Steve Young who came over and said, "What a great game," something like that, "Coach, fantastic." And he was like saying thank you for being a part of an incredible game. What did he say? Did you happen to track down Steve Young, and have you seen him ever since that game?
Well, the funny thing is, I don't think we really got to talk at that game afterwards. I was worn out because running around chasing him all day, he kind of reminded me of old Texas Jackrabbit. You get to chasing him, you think you got him caught, and here he comes the other way and going back and forth. But the funny thing is, when I got to Tampa Bay, he came and was a quarterback there for 1 year, and we talked about that game. And I said, "Do you remember that game?" He goes, "Oh, my God, I ran all day long from y'all." I said, "Yeah, I was there. I was one of the guys chasing." And he goes, "Y'all thought y'all had me cornered a few times, and I'd come out of there." I said, "I know." So, yeah.
Isn't that one of the concerns about facing someone like that you want to put pressure on him, but if you do, the worst thing might happen is you let him loose?
He's just like Barry Sanders was. You compare him, those type of guys, you think you got him cornered in an area, and all you got to do is have one breakdown, and another guy doesn't close that gap, and here they come out of there. You don't run them around, and it's 3rd and 15, and they took up 20 yards, and now you got to stay on the field after running around all day. That makes it tough, and playing against him was tough.
What was the locker room like? You said you were exhausted. I'm sure you guys were celebrating, but it was like one of those things, like once you sat down and took your pads off, did you go, I don't know if I can get up?
Well, I think everybody was dehydrated and tired because it was hot that day, and chasing this guy all around, we never seen anything like that. And, he was not the guy that was just going to sit in the pocket. He was going to take the pocket and move it around. He could throw the ball. He could run the ball. And he had all these options that he could do off of it. So by the end of the day, mentally you were spent. And then physically you were worn out. So it was like, I'm glad that game's over.
The next year they got you guys back, though, didn't they?
Yeah, we went to Brigham Young. One of the things I found out coming from Texas there's 2 places I played that just, you go, I can't get my breath. BYU and Denver, Colorado. Those 2 places, the altitude really changes the game for incoming town. A team coming into there, it's a different kind of game.
Yeah, they 47-13. And did you know when you played them that would be a team that was going to win the national title that year?
No, I did not. And, and I just remember talking to LaVell Edwards because I was in the East-West Shrine game, and he was one of the coaches, and sitting down talking to him, one of the things we talked about is those 2 years of playing. And I said, 2 years we played you guys, what awesome football games, and their organization versus our organization, two great collegiate programs, and a lot of respect to their programs, and they've had some good football players through there, just like Baylor has.
What do you think about the game this weekend? How it's setting up with two teams of 5-1, both really, really good, and looking to make something happen.
Well, I think it's going to be a really, really good game, and I think it's going to say a lot about the program because you're looking at getting about mid-season right now. One with the least injuries is going to be a big part, and you're going to make a statement in your conference. It's going to be made right now because this is a game that everybody's going to focus on. These teams are 5-1. What's going to happen? The outcome is going to be big. So let's lay it on the line and let's get out there and let's get after it.
Ervin, in the NFL, you played with both the Buccaneers and also with the Chiefs. What's it been like the last 2 years to watch both of them win a Super Bowl championship?
Well, the one thing is I look back on it and the organization, Chiefs, the Bucs, both great programs. Seeing those teams, you go, boy, totally different organizations nowadays than when I was there, but it's still the same thing on those helmets, and you just got your heart in it, and you know that you were there at one point, and you believe no matter where you're sitting watching a game, those are your teams. Those still are your teams. That's the same way I feel. I might be in Oklahoma right now, but you know what? I sit down and I bleed that green and gold. And I sit there every time and I tell people, once you've been on that team, you're going to always be a part of that team.
You played, the owner was Hugh Culverhouse when you played for the Bucs, right?
Yeah, Hugh Culverhouse was the owner.
Yeah, he was a little different than the Glazers, I would say.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that game's a lot different, and the owners and the players, a lot different. Looking at it from a fan standpoint nowadays, I look at it and go, boy, it probably could have changed your life a lot, but I say this all the time. If I had to go and do my life over again, I would still go to Baylor. I would still get drafted by Tampa Bay, and I would still play for Kansas City, and I would still be in the automobile business because I have had two careers, and I've been very successful at both. And I'm not mad. I'm pretty happy. I'm at 59 years old. I'm pretty happy.
You seem to be. And even when I spoke with you for a little bit yesterday, it was your birthday, and you were talking when you got in the car business. You had been in the car business before. Now you own a dealership, right? Classic Chevrolet in Lawton. What's that like?
Man, I've been here 6 years. I'm about 2 hours from Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, about an hour from Norman, Oklahoma. And my whole thing is coming here, bringing I've got an American brand. Chevrolet is an American brand. They buy apple pie and Chevrolet. I've got a great brand that we sell. It's an American brand, and it kind of pretty much sells itself. I stand in front of it, but my thing is that being in this part of the country, what's the biggest thing that everybody talks? Football. What is the biggest thing I've done in my life? Football. So it kind of fits for me, being in this area, and it works. And our product is good, and I've got about 70 employees, and me and my family run this dealership, and we're feeling pretty good. I turned 59 yesterday, and I told my wife, I said, I feel pretty good at 59. I like my life. I like where I come from. I like the school I went to. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'd do it the same way.
From Mumford, Texas.
My grandfather was born in Mumford, Texas, and there's a lot of
great place.
There's a lot of Catalinas. Yeah, there's a lot of Catalinas down in Mumford, Ervin. A lot of us. So I'm sure you've run across. So
yeah.
Well,
I'll tell you this. I just got my new pirate flag in the mail today. It's a bear pirate flag. I seen it on one of the TV shows last week. Somebody had in the stands. I got my flagpole up. I'll have this bad boy flying Saturday morning. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
There you go. There you go. Hey, Ervin, thank you, man. Appreciate your time reminiscing about 83 and 84, the win, knocking Steve Young and them out that night. Not knocking them out, but beating them somehow with that shootout game. Alfred Anderson had a big game. He scored the game-winning touchdown. Allen Rice had a nice game. Mickey and Carlson rotated, but you had the best defensive stats.
Yeah. Hey, all I can tell you, it was a great time. We had a lot of fun. They wore us out. These young wore us out.
Ervin Randle, thank you, sir. Former Baylor linebacker.
Pick 'em Bears.
Yes, sir. 3rd-round pick. Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the mid to late 80s and 90s, and then also a couple of years with Kansas City.